work with a trainer or have any sort of prescribed exercise? Or is that
She asked if I work with the trainer and did any prescribed exercise, and no, I didn't. That's probably a good question. I probably should have done it more formally. I know my son had surgery, and we actually had a physical therapist come in who was very specific about the kind of exercises. And for me, no, I just started getting into swimming, and probably could have done more. Probably could have formalized my training. Maybe that's something I would do this summer. But for now, I'm just getting in and just swimming, and it seems to whatever I'm doing. And a lot of times I'll do laps, and then other times, of course, Jacob is my young boy. He just he's crazy in the water, so he never gets out. So when you're in the water, all he wants to do is harass you and hang on you and pull on you and trying to sink you and all the kind of things that a young 10-year-old boy want to do. So, but at first I come on, Jacob, let me do my laps, and I realized goofing around with him was probably as much good exercise as doing anything. So certainly it's a lot of fun to play in the pool as well as exercise. There's got to be some other questions about the show, about anything over here.
How bad is the disruption of snow for you?
How bad what?
Is the disruption in your actual personal life?
Yeah, how much of a disruption in our personal life? I mean, we've gotten used to it now, and I'm trying to think of something to equate it to, and one of these days I got to come up with a good analogy, but it is, and when TLC's around, they're always saying, don't talk so bad about it. But it is really tough some days, because what happens is you wake up in the morning and there's cameras in the house. I mean, there's people in our house at all times. There's no like, they don't like knock, oh, we're coming in now. It's like people start coming in very early, turning on the lights for they have their own set of lights in the house. Our house is like a stage, and there's films on the windows. So the production assistants or the utility people come in early and they flip the lights on. Then the camera crews, usually there's one crew. At any given time there'll be 14 or 15 people on the farm. And not necessarily in the house, because we have a barn that they've set up as a stage, and or as a production office, I guess you'd call one of my barns, and that's where we do a lot of our interviews and things. But they'll come in early in the morning, the first camera shift, and then usually the producers are, hey, what are you doing today? Where are you going? And they're trying to figure out where we're going and what we're doing so that they can, try to follow us. Like if we say, oh, I'm going to go get my hair cut, then they try to call up the barber and get permission. And what's tough about it is that how would you like somebody always calling ahead for everywhere you go? You say, I'm going to go to, my doctor today. And the next thing you know, they're calling your doctor to see if they can get in there. It's like, hey, whoa, wait a minute, that's my life. So there's a sense of, people being in your kind of in your life a little bit too. Or like if you have a friend, I am going over to my friend Charlie's house later today. Well, next thing you know, Charlie calls you and says, hey, what's this about a crew coming over? And so it's like it's difficult because you have people sort of managing a lot of your life, and that's what challenges. But again, like I told a little story about the youngster, and there's hundreds of those kinds of stories. I mean, we have so many stories about average-sized parents that found out that they were going to give birth to a little person or a short-statured individual, and that they were in complete despair. But then watching our show, they changed their mind, and from doing an abortion, and that they're going to keep their child. And some of these kids are now, are 1 year old. That we've gotten to know these families, and so there's been a lot of just story after story after story that we think have made a difference in people's life, and that outweighs all the challenges. But there's days. I know that the other day, I'm not a big yeller. I hardly ever yell. My wife likes to yell. Okay, I'm not a big yeller, but on or off camera, I'm just I'm always more trying to be rational. But now I find myself when the camera isn't around, I just want to yell at my wife. Just because it's like I can, you just want to kind of let out that frustration. So it's you have to, but we try to just hang it out there, and everything that happens that's real. If we are going through a tough time or something, the kids are failing in school or whatever, that's all pretty much on camera. And my wife said from the day one when they asked us to do the show, she goes, okay, but I'm not cleaning my house, and I'm not going to put on makeup for anybody. So she's like very much who she is. And if you don't like it, tough. But the ratings have been really, really. I think it's TLC's #1 show. now, and continues to be very, very popular all over the world. So one of the interesting things about product integration for those of you that have products that we did in the pool is that when you do a advertisement on a television show, you pay for an ad, you know, every time they rerun that show, it's a different ad package or a different ad thing. You get into a show like ours that every time it's rerun, which is substantial, so it's unbelievable the millions and millions of people that have seen our show, not just in the United States but around the world. You're talking about in China, in Australia, in South America. We get all these emails. It's very, very popular in all those countries. And once a particular product, or even if it's not a specific product but a concept, and when I say a concept, I'm talking about things like the rapid and easy installation of a fiberglass pool, for example. When that gets in there, it does have an impact. And now, as our show has progressed over the last couple of years, there's bigger and bigger advertisements that come, and basically line up to get involved in the show. But it's the people like Viking and yourselves that were involved in our show, a year ago then, and the pool guys came out, I got to tell that story real briefly, but in Oregon, we have some pool installers out there. So he asked, why did we go bring a company all the way across bring a team all the way across the country? Kia here and Brent and Rick all came out from clear across the country, and they did it on a dime's notice. I mean, literally, we had another company that we had been starting to do dialogue, doing some of the design with, and they felt like it was a bigger project than they felt like they felt comfortable with. And so we went back to Stacy and said, hey, we got to get this pool in. This is a great project, and they're ready to film this thing. And so she called up the pool guys, and I'm telling you, within, I don't know what it was, Stacy, a week or a couple of days later, boom, these guys arrived, and it was like having a SWAT team show up. Rick pulled up in his Hummer. It wasn't his Hummer, but it was a rented Hummer, and I thought, wow, these guys, they had their T-shirts and things, and came out and just I think we did it in, Rick, what was it, 5 days?
The kids were swimming in 4 days.
4 days, yeah. And kids were swimming, so it was a very, very rapid installation. Very impressive. But that's a good thing, I think, for the pool industry, because people can realize how quickly people that see it. And a lot of it's subliminal. Our show is not a billboard. Our show does not, it tries to make us look like regular, average people. It doesn't try to make us look like a billboard, flashing lots and lots of logos over and over again. So a lot of the companies that do trade-outs with us have to realize that it's sort of a subliminal messaging, but over and over again, there's no doubt in my mind. The Kawasaki Mule is a perfect example. The Kawasaki, I always had those little four-wheel drive vehicles around the farm. Well, now those Kawasaki Mules, 3 years later, they can't keep them in stock. And they don't call us up and say, hey, we're going to attribute our rapid sales rate to your show. But they basically let us know that, and we never flash those things. You never hear me say, oh, these Kawasaki Mules are the greatest things since sliced bread. It's not the kind of show that it is. But what it is, it's very subliminal, that it lets people know that there's a real family using their product and using it in various ways. So it's become a great sales tool for Kawasaki in this case. And I'm sure for the swimming pool industry, and for particularly Viking and all the vendors that participated in our project, there's advantage that comes over time with having that kind of exposure. But I'm sure you all know that.